Blessings, family. What's going on? What's going on? It's been a minute. I'm so happy to be back for a special episode of The Window. If you're just tuning in, my name is Love TaShia Asanti, and I'm your host. And I have a wonderful and amazing guest with me today. My sister, author, spiritual teacher, healer. This sister just does so much incredible work through this newest book, and also we're going to touch upon the work of her first book. But join me in welcoming, family, Michelee Elyse, author of the groundbreaking, the original, ain't nobody write nothing like this, book called The DNA Mafia. And I just love this sister. She is such an incredible soul. Tell us, my sister, tell us, what made you do it? What made you write this story and tell this story?
First of all, blessings, and thank you so much for having me. Namaste, ashe, blessings, greetings, and nothing but love for you, honey. That's the truth. This book, my baby, I wear it like a badge, is 6 to 7 years in the making. I had a near-death experience in 2017, and it was the most miraculous thing. I could remember all of the dimensions that my soul traveled to, and literally, as soon as I got into the car, I was looking for a tablet, a laptop, something to record all of these experiences. And so it started just on my laptop as a blog.
Wow. Well, let's hit the rewind button and just say a word. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Noble Trinity Media and House of Pinky. Please share the video, tune in, check this out. You don't want to miss this discussion, family. There is so much talk in the world about people having near-death experiences. There is so much discussion going on about ancestors and going, experiences with other realms. And this sister went there and lived to talk about it, right? And right at the almost the precipice or the beginning or end of COVID, or was it the beginning?
It was the beginning, 2017. 2017. It was a precursor.
Oh my God. And so when I met this sister and she told me about her project, she didn't know anything about my work in that realm. But when she told me about her project and I began to read the first pages of this book, fam, if you don't have it, go to Amazon right now and type in The DNA Mafia. There it is right there. There's the book. Because when I began to read the pages of this sister's book, y'all, I knew she was the real thing, right? Because as some of y'all know about my other life, I happen to know just a little bit about things like this. And I've seen a lot of people who say I'm this, I'm that, but the print doesn't lie, right? And when I was reading your experiences, Michelee, I was like, this sister, she is not only real, but this story needs to be on Lifetime television, HBO, Netflix.
Netflix, ma'am. Yes.
Right. If you're listening right now.
Netflix, we calling you.
Y'all need to make a movie about this sister's experience. Because
I would like to say, you mentioned near-death experiences. I think sometimes I call them near-death encounters. Sometimes people get them confused when they almost got hunted down by somebody or they got chased and they really were in fear of their life. It's not quite the same thing in my estimation. A near-death experience involves you literally almost dying, usually being in a coma. I don't really know of many that are not being in a coma. And you also mentioned ancestors. That ancestral work that we all need to do, no matter what our religion is, that's powerful.
Yes. And I think people of African descent, BIPOC people, all people really have a calling to get to know their ancestors because so much was lost during the Mafia and the institution of slavery. That's, of course, another workshop. We're not going to go into that today. But again, y'all, if you're just tuning in, my name is Love TaShia Asanti. I'm here with Michelee Elyse, author of the DNA Mafia. And again, family, I'm telling y'all the truth. When I began to read the first 5, 10, 15 pages, and I had the great honor and privilege of being one of the literary midwives for this book, being able to serve as editor and book coach. And this sister, she wrote a masterpiece.
I'm sorry, you really almost brought tears right there, because
what a journey.
And I hope it's okay if I do start crying, because when you talk about being a midwife, yes. Bless you for bringing up that part. I needed a lot of hand holding through a lot of difficult times. This is a book of bravery, because I needed to revisit my trauma over and over again, just as a woman has birth pains over and over again, to push out a new gift into the world. And I believe that Spirit sent you to me, because I really don't even know how I could have gotten to the other side. And that's what we need to understand. There are moments of solitude for all of us. We cannot confuse solitude with isolation.
Yes.
Solitude I call cocooning. You need to grow and really discover who you are. But it took a lot of cocooning. You were gracious enough to understand those moments and those times of cocooning, because with a project like this, you really need to rev up and be able to go the next round. It really is rounds, it's contractions. Involved in birthing something like this out into the world. And this is my gift to the world, because sadly, many have not lived to tell the story, but I told the story of not just one, but multiple dimensions that I visited.
And it was so real, back up just to say how we got here. My sister Michelee got ill. She had a health challenge, a health crisis. And by the time they got you to, is this correct, medical care and treatment?
Yes.
Your body had already shut down.
Indeed. Survive. In fact, the situation was, I had actually gone to urgent care the day before. Had they x-rayed my lungs, they would have seen they were completely full. Complete to maximum capacity, literally to maximum. I don't even know, except by the grace of God, how I'm sitting here talking to you. So let that be a word to the wise. You know your body. Ask or demand an x-ray.
Say that again. Yes.
Ask or demand an x-ray. Be proactive for your own health. They sent me home. And by the time I got to emergency, or somewhere around 12 in the morning, I literally fell on the counter. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I wrote about it in the book. Collapsed almost onto the counter. I became very combative. I thought my husband at the time and the nurse were trying to attack me because I had so little oxygen to my brain. It turns out there was a perfect storm of horrible events. I was actually having an asthma attack. I had pneumonia. I had I was anemic at the time. We're all grown-ups, so I had very heavy periods, extremely heavy periods. I would bleed through clothes. I was anemic at that time. And I had also been dealing with a condition called pica, where I had taken to eating chalk because of the iron deficiency, and my lungs were coated with that white soot. And here's the one that nobody ever thinks about: accumulated stress. I was in a very difficult marriage at the time, extremely ridiculous commute, and I had little time to take care of myself. And I kept thinking this is the way life should be lived. So it was an accumulation of horribility, actually.
Jesus Christ. Well,
indeed,
thank
Jesus
God
Christ.
You survived it, right? Thank God, that you were able to get in there at the brink of the moment to be saved, that your life was saved, because Those babies need you. The world needs you. You need you.
Yes.
And
that's pause right there, if you don't mind.
Yes.
But that is where we must begin. I have come to the recent theory that if you don't love yourself, you can't even receive the love of God properly. Yes. You think you can, but you can't properly love others until you know the value of loving yourself, feeling deserving and feeling worthy. Yes. So yes, I need me here for me. Yes. I have so many things I want to accomplish and do. It starts with me.
Yes, yes. Well, so you're in the hospital, you're now in a coma, right? And they had intubated you, is that correct?
That is correct.
Right. So we kind of heard about people being intubated through the COVID, through the pandemic. There were hundreds, not thousands of people who ended up with this breathing tube down their throat, going into their lungs, basically breathing for them.
Right. What people don't understand is that there is an incredible amount of anesthetic and medication that needs to be given to the human body for the human body to accept this tube. Just as a woman, when a woman is growing, what it at that time feels as a foreign body, has morning sickness. I was on propofol and fentanyl and prednisone at the same time.
What?
So yes, I was on a trip. Yes, I was on a trip. I don't do drugs, and I was on a trip.
Right.
And this is what I want to inform the medical community of. Mm-hmm. You need to give us a black box warning, a side effect sheet, something when you send us home after that stuff. Because there are some people that do this with the help of a guru or a shaman, ayahuasca event.
Right.
But they have a guide to take them through this. I had no one but myself. Ooh. But I ended up finding the power of the self.
Yes. And so while you were in this coma, you're laying here on the bed, you're completely unconscious, seemingly, to the people who are caring for you. Your mate, your family was called in. I mean, it was serious. And you begin to have visions while you are in this state of being. And you have consciousness unbeknownst to your family. You're even hearing some of the conversations. You have a sense of presence of the people who are coming in and out of the hospital room.
Yes.
And then you begin to astral travel, what I know to be as a spiritual teacher. You begin to astral travel, which for you newbies means Michelee left her body, her physical body, and her spirit was basically walking around the hospital, going to other realms, and having visitations from spirit guides. Yes.
It was definitely intense. Yeah. My spirit, I feel like I was so entrenched with work that my spirit left the hospital and started traveling in this dimension to places nearby the hospital. But there are still what I call interdimensional grids.
Yes.
And so with interdimensional grids, this same place that I'm sitting, there could be another me in another dimension doing something different, and I'm not aware of her.
Yes.
So actually just yesterday, I passed by yet another interdimensional grid in the city that I work for. So now we might wonder, how do you know that that's it? It is a visceral experience in my body. And I hear myself, I don't know that I'm doing it, but I hear myself go like that.
Right.
And so these interdimensional grids were my soul trying to get back to my body somehow. Now, let me tell you something really interesting, really, really interesting. I would not have believed this myself, honestly. But when I came back from the hospital, I asked one of my dearest friends, did you come to the hospital? And my mother's very religious, and he had anointed me on my forehead with oil. And my mother said, we don't do that in the Church of Christ. Wrote about it. We don't do that in the Church of Christ. And so literally, like I said, when I first got back home, I'm blogging, I'm texting, I'm doing whatever I can. He was the first person I texted. And I asked him, as you said, be very careful what you say at the bedside of a comatose person, because you don't know what they're going to intake in those dimensions. I asked him, I said, did my mother say we don't do that when you anointed my head with oil? He said, yes, but here's the odd thing. He said, we weren't even in your room. We were down the hall.
Wow.
Out of your room, not even in earshot, by the elevator.
Wow. So you were hearing a conversation, and you have proof.
I do.
That you were hearing a conversation that was going on in a completely different room than you were laying in.
Right.
So now, your body was on the hospital bed, and you were over there. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Verbal. My mother confirmed it as well. My mother confirmed it. He confirmed it. And then about 2 years later, I had to go to that same hospital because I kept having a lot of clearing of my throat, and they wanted to make sure that my vocal cords or nothing in there had been disturbed by the ventilator too, which can happen sometimes. So I actually had to have a scope to go down my throat. You want to talk about revisiting trauma. But it turns out that this procedure was on the same floor that I almost lost my life. And I have video footage. I will send it to you if you want to share it with your audience. I have video footage of me going into a stairwell where there was an interdimensional experience, because I thought there was a shootout in the hospital, and there were police that had come up in this other dimension in the stairwell of the hospital with guns drawn. Now, yet again, sounds like a fabulous story, but when I send you this footage, you will see the camera tells the story.
Oh my God.
All of a sudden, the camera starts glitching, and people, these are no coincidences. This is confirmation from spirit. You guys need to understand that when your devices start malfunctioning, there is no coincidence. There is no malfunction. So
I had an experience like that.
And then on the film, I'm like,
right. You got me doing it. I mean, you know, Michelee, I had an experience like that years ago. I was hiking with my partner, and we were in the woods up in Yosemite, and we went into this little small build. It was like a small building, it was like a jail cell. Actually, we found out later it was a jail cell. And she picked up this chain that was attached to a bed, and I was filming it. And when she picked up the chain, it started glitching, and the video was shut down. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
And it was. So we also joked I was reviewing your manuscript, and when you decided to bring me on as your editor, that no one like me could have been the editor. Like, we were laughing about that because when I started to read, I was like, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Right.
And many of our conversations during those months of editing your manuscript was like us sharing about different experiences and me affirming and confirming, Michelee, you are not crazy. You are brilliant. You are a genius, and you are amazing. Like, you know, this is so real, my sister, and you have a gift.
That's so important. That's so important, because there's such a bewilderment that happens. So the brother I told you about that had been by my bedside, he really helped me to open up my gift, which ended up extending to channeling, talking to those who have crossed over. And your gift was just simply in lessening that bewilderment, because when you're bewildered like that, you're stuck. And my hope and my prayer is that I can do that for others. And let them know, just like you told me, you're not crazy. That meant the world. That is very important. In fact, you're not crazy. You have a gift that you're supposed to share with others, because our world is changing, and you're actually part of that change.
Yes. Well, when you think about, and y'all gonna have to get the book so you can know that, because these stories, I mean, they're healing. They're healing on many different levels. Because some of the experiences that you had when you were, you know, in the other realm, they really had messages, the spirit guides, your protectors. I remember all the names that you gave to the characters and the people and the entities that came to visit, they also had messages for humanity, for the world, for your family, for you. It was so powerful. And it was really about, you being healed in this, like you said, in this other state of being. This is kind of like the ayahuasca experience without the ayahuasca.
I know.
Right. But can you tell the viewers, what is one of the experiences that just jumps right out at you that is among the most poignant that you felt during that time, that you remember, that you recall during that time?
Well, I'm actually going to be very brave right now. And I'm going to say, for some reason, the one that's standing out is there was a nurse, and she was an Asian nurse. And in my unconscious bias and my racism of wherever I was at that time, I named her Ming Ling. And that might have really been her name, Ming Ling. But at the end of all of these experiences, I had to settle down and understand the only real person I was battling was me. I had to closely look at, was it racist to name her that? I mean, her name could have been Heather or Josephina or Taekwonda for all I know. I don't know what that woman's name is. Why can't I just look at her as an Asian woman and even interdimensionally choose to name her Ming Ling? So I am a person that is very strong on metacognition, thinking about what it is that I think, and taking ownership of that. Because to me, to have it literally stay unconscious and to have it stay suppressed, that's what's the problem. There was another experience that I named the Angry Samoans. So there had been these,
remember
the Angry Samoans?
Yes.
And in the book, I even said, why am I calling them angry? Why am I assuming they're angry? But I've been watching a lot of them lately on YouTube, and they do that. Thinking like that. So maybe that's why I wanted to call them angry. But the biggest takeaway is to look at myself. This entire near-death experience, the interdimensional experiences, the life experiences, they're all about lessons. Will you take the lesson and incorporate it into your life, or will you continue ignoring it?
Yes. One of the characters that jumps out for me was the doctor.
Dr. Downtington.
Oh my goodness. Those intersections right there. And even you driving by, the experiences with you driving by the place and, seeing like, oh my God, some of us would call that like a deja vu.
Yes.
If you've ever, viewers, if you've ever had that experience where you've gone somewhere and you go, I've been here before. I know I've been here before.
That could be an interdimensional coordinate, and you could have been there before.
Say that again. That word.
It is. I will drop the mic and name it myself. Say, Michelee told you this. It is an interdimensional coordinate.
Yes.
It does exist.
Yes.
And you were there. You just settle yourself down and figure out what the why is and incorporate it into your life. So Dr. Downtington, he was evil and dastardly. He was very difficult. And then about 2 or 3 years later, I had scheduled a discovery call with a man that looked exactly like him. I'm telling you. So what I had now, the thing is, the biggest thing that happened in this book was the shootout. So many of these things have unfolded in different ways in my life into reality. And I have to remind myself that the biggest lesson is that I am the creator of my reality. So if I don't want this shootout to happen, this shootout is not going to happen. That's not going to happen for me. That is not going to be in my experience. So when I met this man, Dr. Downington, on a Facebook Messenger call, I was like so distracted. I couldn't even focus. Because what we need to understand about these interdimensional characters as well, there's another dimensional me somewhere doing something else. And the interesting thing is, as I was laying there dying, all the dimensions I was going to, I was dying in those dimensions as well. So this man that I met that looked so much like Dr. Downtington, so sweet, so kind, but that could have been an element of his shadow self. I don't know. I don't know. But the thing is, he presented himself to me as so nice and so sweet. So we have to understand, one of the biggest things that we are taught to give up is our imagination and our intuition.
Yes, speak on it. Yes.
And our intuition guides us. And intuition is strongest in women and children. And we always shut it down. I call it the shutdown. I call it the shutdown. Some men, toxic men, are very infamous for doing this. And this is a time in our society. And the reason why I had my near-death experience at such a timely place in our genealogy as a world is because, yes, it was before COVID, to prepare me and prepare others. Even though the book didn't get out into the world, this is a spiritual, COVID was a spiritual experience. Whether you got it or not.
I got it.
I did as well. So many people did. But it changed the way that we thought as a worldwide people. Not as a tribe, not as a country, as a worldwide people.
As a globe, right?
It was a very spiritual experience, and we don't understand that.
They say that, I've read before that they say that there are the two different realities, or many different realities. And to decide and to determine which one is really real. Like, we could be living in the dream right now. We could be the other reality, and then real life is going on somewhere else. Like, we could be the dream. We could be the shadow experience right now.
I think Rumi said that, and I could be wrong, but there's a philosopher that says that. What if the dream is real? What if the real is the dream?
That part.
So I have been doing something that I truly believe we all do, which is more interdimensional travel. It wasn't limited to me being in a coma. Being in a coma taught me what that is. So I've been coming to understand that I travel through dimensions really quickly. And sometimes it comes about in negative ways. So it could be, I know I put this book right here. Where is that book?
Right.
I'm not stupid. Where is that book?
It's right there.
It's right there, but you have slipped into another dimension and you don't even know it. So I've had to really, spirit work, interdimensional travel, all of this involves understanding the nuances. You got to pay attention to the nuances. And you got to first decide. I'm only here because I first decided I wanted to come back. After I decided, then God had to make a choice whether or not to support that decision. That's another layer. And so luckily for me, praise God, God supported that decision with resources and other things. But I had to make a spiritual decision to be here. So first you have to decide which dimension you want to be in. And I'm going to say this, and it's not a joke. We have to understand, the universe, God, nobody knows whether you're joking or not. So if you want to say something as a joke to somebody else to make yourself feel good, that's fine. So let me model that. I'm gonna make sure that I end up in the dimension where I'll win the lottery.
I know that's right. You
got everybody laughing around you, but you got them laughing in that good energy. And you don't have them doubting you. So that is true. You have to know the nuances, and you have to say, I don't prefer this dimension. And don't judge it. Don't judge that you don't like it. Just say, I don't prefer this dimension. I want to see if I can get to another one, and then forget about it, and then pay attention a little bit later and see if you got there or not. You can get to another dimension mostly by sleep. When you sleep, you can wake up in another dimension.
You can travel.
Astral travel, right?
In the tradition that I was, raised in and learned, and, as a priestess in that tradition, we talk a lot about this thing called Ori. And so again, here you go, touching on these indigenous practices and beliefs and ways of living. And again, as I read your manuscript the first time, I remember is this sister, she initiated? How does she know this stuff? There was no way that you should have known these kind of things unless you had spent time out in, indigenous community or in the bush or shamans and healers who were very advanced. That's my first impression as I read your book was like, how does she know this stuff? Because, people spend 15, 20 years to learn what was downloaded to you when you were in that coma. When you
very important word you just said, downloaded. Right. So I have a spiritual gift. Most people know about clairvoyancy. I am not a clairvoyant. A clairvoyant clearly sees an angel or a crossed over spirit. I don't see. I get downloads that are out of this world. And I know that I know that I know. Don't ask me how I know. Don't refute how I know, because if you do, we're going to go down the road and prove that.
I love it. I love it.
With these downloads, I've had to really become aware. I've learned to become aware of my past lives. And one of my past lives, which I've discussed with you, is as a Yoruba priestesses. And then the other one is I was also an Indian goddess. Her name was Saraswati. And the way that I know is now it's making sense to me why it is so hard for me to not complete a project. I don't know how to break things down into parts, because I have been goddess, Orisha, Devi, Deva, across timelines, generationally. I even was trying to figure out if I was Ma'at in a previous life, the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, who wrote the 42 laws. So as I come into this goddess energy, I have to understand I'm human now. When I was a goddess, I could create compendiums, book upon book, without stopping, because I didn't need any sleep. I didn't need any sleep. And even written in this book, I talked about how I am the worst insomniac you could ever meet. Sleeping pills.
Something else we have in common, right?
Yeah. And that's because when I was a goddess, I didn't need any sleep. So I have to honor this journey that I'm on now. I have to honor it. I have to know I can't quite work. I even was a masquerader before, those a lot of times in Yoruba and in other places in Africa, but I cannot access that life as a masquerader now because this body has asthma, So it's like some of it is just remembering it, knowing if you need to heal it, and what parts of it do you need to incorporate into your life. You don't have to incorporate all of it.
Well, sometimes we don't understand why certain things resonate with us. And so again, one of my early experiences with you was when we began to talk and I began to share my background, my spiritual background with you. And you were like, what is that? What is that? Like certain things I said, I started to talk about egg bay, and it was different things we were discussing. And it immediately would resonate with you, even though you didn't have the book, whatever knowledge of what this was or what it meant. You knew on a soul level, like this is part of my experience, this is part of my being. And you so brilliantly, to me, captured that in the book. Y'all, if you're just tuning in, I am interviewing Michelee Elyse. She is the author of an incredible book called The DNA Mafia. She is also a near-death experience survivor, wonderful spiritual healer, spiritual teacher. She is just doing phenomenal work. You can get her book on Amazon.com. Just look up either under her name as the author, and I'll put it in the chat in just a minute. And y'all go buy the book today, and please share the video, because so many of us are having these types of experiences, whether it is through a health crisis or it is in your sleep. And we don't have an understanding of what it is. We don't trust. We were just talking about this. Y'all have to go back and watch the replay. But we were just talking about trusting our intuition, trusting the messages that we get, trusting the feelings that we have when something feels familiar or a person. Because and I'll say this and we'll go back. I'm going to put the mic back in your hand. But that feeling of when you meet someone and that this interaction is deeper than just right now, like it's either past or there's something very important that you will do in the future. And that is the type of feeling that, was captured when you were having the experiences that led to this book, The DNA Mafia.
Ashe. I think the biggest thing is you were talking about, I want to call it resonance versus religion. What resonates with you versus what your religion tells you. And trust me, I'm not bashing anybody's religion. They're amazing and beautiful structures for people to follow. And I honor that and I respect that. But when you were coming up with certain things that were actually validating what I had already written about, I felt wrong because I felt like it didn't fit within my religion, and not even necessarily my religion, but my denomination.
Yes.
So, my denomination says it's non-denominational, but it's very dogmatic and very judgmental to me and for me. And it's important to say it that way because it can be an amazing structure for someone else.
Yes.
And I'm not knocking that it can save lives and it can create a wonderful spiritual connection, but that's not my path. That's not my particular path. So that's what was happening. A lot of the things that you were actually confirming and affirming in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know if this is okay. And then the thing that they would always say in my church, well, maybe you should go by the pastor and talk about that with the pastor and see what he says.
Right.
What does that do to that female intuition,
Yes, tells it that it's invalid when you had drawn to you everything that would bring forth the vision that God truly has for your life. Like you continue to draw the people and the things, even making your pilgrimage to Nigeria. All of that was part of this. You were being prepared even for that.
Amen.
Our interaction and so much of our rich conversations. We were supposed to be working, but often we were just having rich conversations about spirit and spirituality. And
unbeknownst to you, you're settling me down. Unbeknownst to you, you're just saying, oh, okay. Allow me to say, okay, I see how it all fits now.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so give us one more. And again, if y'all are just tuning in, go to Amazon.com and get this new book, The DNA Mafia. We're going to talk a bit about Michelee's first book because it also is really important as part of the spiritual healing process that the second book opens us up to. Because so often we're having both wake and asleep interdimensional experiences where we know things, we feel things, and they aren't being validated or we minimize them. I see a lot of people will say, oh, you're just tripping. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Don't trust your feeling. But could you tell us one more experience from the book that jumps out at you that was really transformative, powerful, that you will never forget? And I have so many favorites from this book, but this is what's your favorite, beloved?
I know that's a good question. I think my favorite, because there weren't a lot of favorites. What we need to realize is this is not your typical near-death experience. I did not see Jesus. I did not see the white light, and my life was not in review. So with those three things not being met, I'm already in a zone of being completely different. The moment where I felt peace, and there were a few times where I actually was able to feel peace, was there was an interdimensional family reunion. Now, this is interesting because, yes, I have recently found, and I'll send you a picture of this as well, near my job, there is literally between two bins, because there was an experience in these storage bins as well. Between two bins of all places, there's a mural of a painting which closely resembles the interdimensional family reunion that I was experiencing, which is yet again another nod to the fact that this is over by my job again. So my soul was just trying to get back to my body, and I was working all the time. So all it maybe knew was to go back near my job. So at this interdimensional family reunion, we had vegan hot dogs. Thank you very much.
Oh, goodness. Oh my God. Vegan hot dogs. That is so deep.
We had us some vegan hot dogs. And the thing that I most remember, and since then, the things that I most try to recreate is the sense of community, the sense of family, and family by blood or family by spirit, because spirit family can be pretty intense when you start coming up with some of those people that you lived past lives with, or that are just meant to aid you and help you in this journey now. So that was just the gift that I was left with, was the peace of that experience. And then in the book, I remember saying, and then my hot dog fell to the floor. And I ended it right.
Remember that.
So I don't even know, there hasn't been a counterpart exactly for that, except for the mural, but just maybe it's a reminder. Can we please, all of us, can we get together when it's not a funeral? Can we get to, even a wedding? Can we get together? Not a wedding.
Right.
Can we get together when it's not a graduation? Can we just call and say, hey, you know what? I don't know. It's been annoying to me. I've been doing that a lot lately too. Friends, I did that just last night. Annoying. 7:32. Kind of late for me. I like to call before 7.
Right.
Annoying. Let's call this baby girl and see how she's doing. Why did I call her right when she's in the midst of tears? And if you recall in the book, there was a time where I went to visit a friend, and I had to honor that inner knowing that I know that I know that I know. And I was running late. Walked in, knocked on the door. She opens the door and she's in full on tears. How would I know that she needed me at that time?
You would not.
I was able to settle her down, resolve the situation, get to my appointment on time. It's about answering that call. That call is higher than you. That call is God, source, even your higher self. You got to listen.
So you came out of the coma. How long were you in a coma?
12 days. And I came out of the coma on Resurrection Day.
Oh my goodness.
Holding the hand of Jesus. And my friend that anointed me, he had said, I'll be back in 3 days.
Wow.
Just like Jesus.
3 days you had. We can't make this stuff up. We can't make this stuff up.
Can't make this stuff up. Cannot.
So you came out of the coma. Was the family there when you came out of the coma?
Yes, the family was there. So you got to know there's like a sort of a gentle, gradual, or maybe in some cases a shocking, snap back to reality. My mother had flown out. My kids were there. A couple of my dear friends from church, and my husband at the time, of course, was there. I just remember one of the things that really snapped me back to reality, if you remember, was I kept thinking that I had been cloned. And that was the biggest thing of this is the DNA mafia that's knocking people upside the head in this dimension and cloning them and making clones of them and then sort of returning them back to their lives. And then if they decide they want to, then they'll pick you up again, knock you out again. So I thought
that was the first memory that came to you. It was already, there's another you somewhere.
I was entrenched in it. This is what we need to understand. I was entrenched in that reality. That wasn't even an experience, a memory, or a dream. It was a reality.
It was a reality.
So I'm calling for my kids. Come here. Where are you? I'm calling you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I reach 5, you need to be here. What are you doing? And I'm getting all cantankerous and upset. And in this reality, which I call here now, my mom is saying, your husband, he went to pick up the kids. And I'm becoming more combative. I actually need to be restrained. And I said, where are my kids? And then she put her full weight on me and she said, they're not here right now. And I said, well, somebody's trying to get my kids. And she goes, well, what are you going to do about it? There was something about that bass in her voice.
So that kind of brought you back.
I was like, oh, wait a minute, where am I? And so this is the important thing to remember real quick. The reality we're in, how often do you question, is this the real reality?
Right. Typically you don't.
Unless you have a conversation like this. So I had to really get acclimated to the fact that I'm in a complete another dimension now. Nobody's And I'm telling you, for weeks, I would do internet searches about this shootout at the hospital. Now, turns out, remember we said by the bedside of a comatose person, there needs to be a whole new book.
Right.
On the news, there had been a shootout at a school. So that got incorporated into where I was.
So I wonder if you actually traveled there.
Texting as soon as I get back home, you know, what happened? And then you go to the psychologist, and the psychologist says you're delusional, which by their standards you are.
Right.
But nobody prepares you for the PTSD of a comatose interdimensional experience.
That's definitely a second book. I mean, the third book. You got it right.
I got 2, 3. Exactly. That's 2, 3 books right there. Exactly. Yeah, nobody prepares you for that. Yeah. Nobody says, okay, you might be a little skittish. Nobody even asks you what happened over there. You know, so that's what I look forward to doing and being a near-death experience counselor. I'm calling it right now. I look forward to coaching people through these experiences, just like you did me, just like my friend did for me, because you're not going crazy and it does have meaning.
And I remember when you were in the other dimension and you were trying to get the kids all together to get in the car. I remember that was one of the scenes in the book that I really loved. I mean, and when you read the book, family, you really feel like you are there with Michelee. You're experiencing what she's experiencing. You feel the realness. Like, there's no doubt. I tell you, you read the first 10 pages, you go, okay, this is authentic.
Right.
So this is not fluff. This is not entertainment. She lived it. She survived it. And she's helping people heal through it. And there's many lessons and revelations that come as you read her experiences in that dimension, in that other reality, right? Because her body was going places and living some of the experiences there. And then some of them to me were tests. They were lessons.
Yes.
They were, you know, letting you know how strong you were, your own protection. I mean, there's just so many things in that house. I remember there was a rummage sale or something in one particular chapter.
That was with the Angry Samoans.
Right. Y'all have to read this book. It is so exciting. Usually I'm going to work 3 or 4 hours on a manuscript. I would be up all night because I wanted to read the next chapter. Right?
I remember you saying that. You were like, this is hard for me. I usually don't do this.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to all you in the comments. Thank you for your wonderful support. Hi, Tamara. Blessings, family. Blessings, Rory. Blessings, Betty Henderson, Dorothea Cow. All of you who are tuning in. We are now with Michelee Elyse, author of The DNA Mafia. She is a near-death experience survivor. She's also a spiritual teacher and healer. And she has written another book, her very first book. Could you tell us the title of that book and a little bit about it?
I would love to tell you. So this first book, I want to actually show the progression, because people just think you cough or you sneeze out a book. No, you do need a book doula. You need a book midwife, like I was looking at. So it started as a book project called the Push Past It Project. And that was Push Past Anxiety was mine. I did Push Past Anxiety. So it only started as 5 pages. I only had 5 pages. There's me right there.
Oh, beautiful.
And then something interesting happened. I ended up editing for most of the people in the book. Most of the people in the book needed editing help. So there were other authors in this book. And then I said, well, let's not turn this into our own book. How about we do that?
Ooh,
let's turn it into our own book. So this is the first edition of the book.
Taming the Beast of Anxiety.
Yes. And then I wrote a second edition of the book, and I actually did the artwork on the cover. I decided to draw anxiety. So I'm starting to have these draw anxiety events, because once you see, it's actually kind of innocuous and silly when you look at it.
Beautiful, powerful. Oh,
powerful. You only got one eye looking at me, and look at your little blue shoes. That's what anxiety looks like to me.
Channeling. Yeah. You channeled it. Yeah.
Right. And then noticing also throughout the book, understanding anxiety comes bearing a message. And I'm learning that ego does too. That might be another book. Taming the Beast of Ego. Ego has a message. Anxiety has a message. Notice it doesn't say obliterate the beast of anxiety or destroy the beast of anxiety. Wow. The more that we work ourselves up with these things and try to get rid of these things, the more they end up taunting us and haunting us. I learned that from anxiety, I personally needed to get out of a marriage that was toxic for me. It was toxic for me. Took me a long time to learn and understand. You don't have to be beaten. You don't have to be cheated on. You don't have to be abused in other ways, but there is emotional abuse, which is devastating
and damaging.
There's mental abuse. There's financial abuse. And then there's also neglect. You can be sexually neglected. You don't have to be sexually abused. Took me a long time to understand that anxiety was trying to tell me that I thought I was deserving and worthy of that which I was getting. So most of my inner work every day is I am deserving of.
Yes, ma'am.
I am worthy of. I would not be sitting here talking to you right now had I not first had a conversation with God. I want to go back. I deserve a good life. I'm worthy of a good life.
Shay, beautiful, my sister. See, now we touching on another workshop. We're going to have to talk some more. But I want to read one of the comments of a viewer says, Alafia, thank you. She's speaking to you and to myself as host. She says, for some reason, I'm in tears. Thank you for being here and talking about this at this moment. That was by LJ. Tamara also, And Tamara says, thank you for sharing these experiences. And she gives you the hand claps, because it's so important that we document, that we celebrate, that we honor what we have gone through and what we have survived. And now to be able to thrive in your life, your global travels, your book tours, all the things that you are doing. And, we already called it and spoke it into the universe that is going to be a movie.
Yes. It's actually going to be a Netflix miniseries. Yes. We have to be specific.
We have to be specific with spirit.
Speak to spirit. Spirit and even the word, because even though I don't consider myself quote unquote a Christian, the word of God is tucked in my heart. Yes. And the word of God says, who of you fathers, when your child asks for a gift, will give them a snake?
That part, right?
My daddy not going to give me a snake. Yes. I told my daddy, I want a Netflix, not movie, daddy. No, I want a mini series.
Or as they call it now, a limited series.
Limited series.
Binge-worthy
Netflix mini series. It has been spoken. It has been spoken.
It's already done.
Yes.
Do you have website or any way? How can people find you? Tell us your handles on social media, on Instagram. How can people follow you to learn more about what you're doing? You host a show of your own. You do wonderful talks. There's a library and archive of many of your presentations on Instagram. So how can folk best find you?
Awesome. Thank you for asking. So you can please, my favorite is Instagram. And I'll spell it out for you and I'll show it here on the book as well. Does that show up good or should I show the other one?
Yes.
It's Michelee. Don't worry about the accent. Elyse. And it's all run together. No period, no spaces. So once again, it's Michelee. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. And there's one more I'm forgetting. What is it? Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. I'm not there very often, but I will be checking it more often. So if you'd like to send me a message on Twitter, it's a very unique name. So the middle of it is going to look like 3 E's, but it's all run together. Beautiful. Or you can just try to enter Michelee Elyse. My name is actually popping up now. It's actually searchable on the internet. So you can also enter that name on Amazon. And I do believe on Amazon, I think there's a way to send a message or follow.
Yes, on your author page. And folks, please share the video. Go and purchase the book today. You can thank me later. The
Yeah.
DNA Mafia, and read this sister's incredible story
Can I
about
say
how
one
she
more?
managed it. Yes.
I'm
No,
so
go
sorry.
on.
I just remembered the main one that might be easiest. I have
Yes.
two other ones. The
Yes.
next one is Michelee Elyse at gmail.com.
Okay,
That's a
hold on.
good
Let me
way to
put that
reach me.
on here.
Michelee Elyse at gmail.com.
I just put that in the chat as well. And if y'all want to bring her out to do a book talk, if you want to have her come to your college or your institution, your healing center, and talk about near-death experiences and talk about, surviving a coma, and as well as, healing from that trauma. So many people, again, at the beginning of the presentation today, we talked about the thousands of people who were intubated, some who were put into a coma while they were being treated for COVID. So I know a lot of people need this book. A lot of people need to understand the experiences that they had while they were in a coma or while they were intubated, seemingly unconscious, but they weren't. And because I've talked to a couple people who had COVID at that level, and they were like, "Oh my God!" So I actually tagged one of the people on your show tonight in the comments. Hopefully, he will
I need a shirt. I need to make a shirt that says "No vegetables." There are
Okay.
no vegetables. We are not vegetables. Let's not get it twisted. We are not vegetables.
And
So I want to
your
give one
family.
more, actually.
Yes.
And it's a phone number. It's my business phone number.
No, don't give you. Okay, business.
No,
Okay.
it's my business phone number.
Long as it's yes.
If that's
All
okay.
right, I'm ready. Yes.
Okay?
Just for safety, I don't like to give out.
Yeah.
But this is business.
So my business phone number is 951
Yes.
305
Yes.
0096.
Okay, I'm putting it in there.
Yeah, so that's all my info.
Like your Google Voice number or whatever. So folks, it's not direct. Yes.
Yes.
Y'all give her 24 hours to respond to that. But please invite her out to your book clubs. Invite her out to your college campus. She has so much to share. She is a phenomenal, phenomenal force in this world. Great things are coming. We're going to be planning the premiere. I'm getting my outfit ready for the premiere.
Yes.
Oh, I got to see this on the big screen.
Yes.
And we just love you. And I'm so excited for you and all the work that you would continue to do with this great book.
Thank
you.
I
want to thank you for coming out today and sitting with me and spending an hour of your valuable time and your busy life. And she's working on some things. Again, follow her on IG. You can go back and look at the videos. She has some amazing talks that she has done. We've done sessions like this together before. She's brought me on hers. She's come on mine. So it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal soul. So Michelee Elyse, I want to thank you.
Thank you
for being a guest on the window, and also for this amazing creation, the DNA Mafia. I thank God that you survived that coma. I thank God that you learned so many things about yourself and that you could share with others to help other people who may not be in a coma but are having experiences with astral traveling or conversations with the other side.
Yes.
And I thank you for coming into my life for me to learn about your story.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the next talk because we got to talk about this anxiety piece.
Yes, anxiety. That's a big thing across ages, social, emotional learning. It covers a lot. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely.
And it's so real. It again, people will tell you, "Oh, you're just tripping," and that anxiety is so real, and it can show up physically. It can make us physically ill. It can make us suffer from depression and many other symptoms. So
can I say something? Do I have
to? Absolutely.
Okay, just a minute. I want to say that I'm going to give everybody a spoiler in my book, which you should never do, but connecting with your purpose. Connecting with your purpose is one thing that really cuts down on anxiety the more you do that. And so right now, I want to give a shout out to Black women. Honestly, I want to give a shout out to us. TaShia did so much work on this book. The artwork, the cover was by a Black artist. Her name is Tressa King. Tressa King.
Wow.
And then, of course, me as author. And then I also want to give a shout out to my baby. Sorry, but he always my baby.
Yes.
Ryan did this picture on the back.
Oh.
He did the photography on the back. So that is one of the things that interdimensional family reunion was about. Assembling the tribe. I'm real big on assembling the tribe. So please reach out to me. Be a part of this Good Vibes tribe, people. We need to come together. Let's come together.
Yes, we do. We have so much work to do. And I also, the ancestors, we give homage to the ancestors.
Yes.
Because I know they were protecting you.
They were.
I know the Most High was guarding over you. Those angels were right there with you the whole time. Your spirit guide.
Yes.
And y'all are going to have to read the book to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes.
But her spirit guide protected her and watched over her the whole time she was in that coma.
Yes.
And I know that it was not time for you.
No, it was not time.
It was time. You have so much work that you have to do on this planet.
I do, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, look at you. She's ready.
I am ready for it. Bring it on.
Yes, my sister. Thank you, Michelee Elyse.
Thank you.
Author of the DNA Mafia. Get that book today, family.
Yes.
And we know that we're going to have to bring you back.
I would love to.
Right, because we got to read some of the chapters from the book. And
that would be great.
And talk about those scenes.
Wouldn't it be great? Here's what we could do if you want. Three of your favorites and 3 of my favorites,
Right?
And then maybe have your audience, since they will have bought the book by then, have them submit a favorite and I'll talk on it.
That part right there, because their stories, family, oh my God. It's almost like I was there with you.
Yes.
I was like going to those places with you. So y'all have to, that's all I'm going to say. DNA Mafia, Michelee Elyse.
Thank you.
Get that book today, fam. You can thank me later. You're watching The Window, and I am Love TaShia Asanti, host and producer. Again, thanks and shout out to our producers, House of Pinky and Noble Trinity Media. Much, much love to the Homeless Goddess Project. We're heading to Colorado in October, at the end of October. We'll be doing some positive and powerful work there. We're going to continue in this great tradition of celebrating the work of phenomenal women like our sister, Michelee. Thank you, family. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Watch the replay because you don't want to miss not a word of this interview. Love you.
Thank you.